In the summer of 1870, Benjamin Nathan was one of the most powerful men in New York City, a stockbroker of immense wealth, a patriarch, a pillar of society. On the night of July 28th, he went to bed inside his locked Manhattan mansion, and by morning he was dead, beaten savagely on the second-floor landing with a heavy iron tool. Every door in the house had been bolted from the inside, and his two grown sons had slept just rooms away. A small safe had been pried open, and certain valuables were gone. But the violence went far beyond what any robbery required, and the sealed house offered no explanation for who could have done this or how. The case became one of the great sensations of Gilded Age New York. The police investigated, the newspapers screamed, and suspicion moved like a shadow through everyone inside that house. Yet, more than 150 years later, not one person has ever been charged. Welcome. We are glad you are here, because this case still has no answer, and we intend to find one together. As we go, we will lay every clue on the board in front of you. The locked doors, the sleeping sons, the missing valuables, the contradictions the police could never resolve. And by the end, the verdict will be yours. Chapter 1. Blood on the Second Floor. July 29th, 1870. A gray Manhattan morning, still and close. The housekeeper arrived at the West 23rd Street residence before 6 o'clock. She found Benjamin Nathan, one of New York's wealthiest men, collapsed near the second-floor landing. Nathan was 60 years old, a pillar of the city's financial and Jewish communities. The house showed no signs of forced entry. Every window secure, every bolt drawn from the inside, every door, every latch exactly as the household had left them the night before. Officers from the New York Metropolitan Police arrived within the hour. The weapon, later identified as an iron bar used for cleaning a safe, lay discarded nearby. The morning newspapers gave the city the bare, chilling facts. Several members of the Nathan family had slept in rooms just above and below the landing that night. None of them reported hearing anything. Not a struggle. Not a single cry. Think carefully about what the locked house tells us. If no one broke in, then whoever did this was already inside. And we have to ask ourselves why. Let's open the board. The location, West 23rd Street, Manhattan, USA, and Benjamin Nathan, the victim. Chapter 2. The man the city feared losing. In the summer of 1879, Benjamin Nathan was one of the most consequential men in New York City. He had served as president of the New York Stock Exchange, a position that placed him at the very center of American financial power. His fortune, accumulated over 4 decades, was estimated at well over $1 million. He was the patriarch of an extended family dynasty, with sons already making names for themselves in business and society. His Fifth Avenue home was a statement, not of arrogance, but of permanence. Colleagues described him as measured, fair, and slow to anger, a man who made enemies reluctantly. The morning of July 29th, 1870, began like any other at the Nathan household on West 23rd Street. By mid-morning, Benjamin Nathan was dead. The city that had depended on him reacted with a stunned collective silence. Police arrived to find a scene that offered answers to nothing. and questions about everything. Think about what you know of Benjamin Nathan, his wealth, his access, his influence, and ask yourself what that combination might attract. What could a man like this have done or known or kept hidden that someone believed was worth his life? On the board so far, Benjamin Nathan, the victim. Now we pin up Washington Nathan, the son, questioned. Chapter 3. A house full of sleeping witnesses. The night of July 28, 1879, was warm and still over lower Manhattan. Benjamin Nathan, one of the city's wealthiest men, retired to his West 123rd Street home, alone. Or so it seemed. The house was not empty. His son Washington Nathan claimed to be sleeping on the third floor. His son Frederick Nathan said he arrived home late and went directly to his room. A longtime family servant, William Kelly, slept in a room off the kitchen at the rear of the house. Each person in that house gave investigators a last sighting of Nathan alive, and every account placed that moment at a different hour. Washington said he spoke with his father near midnight. Frederick put the hour earlier. Kelly said he heard nothing unusual at all. Consider that for a moment. 3 people, 1 house, 1 night, and not one story that fully agrees with another. What does that tell you about the timeline? And about who, if anyone, could have moved through that house undetected? By morning, every person under that roof was simultaneously a witness and a suspect. And somewhere in that house, an object the killer almost certainly touched was waiting to be found. On the board so far, Washington Nathan, the son, questioned. Now we pin up unknown, the unidentified killer. Chapter 4. The Iron Dog. Among the evidence recovered from 12 West 23rd Street on the morning of July 29, 1879, one object stood apart from all the others. It was a carpenter's dog, a dense iron clamp used to grip and hold heavy timber in place. It was not a household object. Benjamin Nathan was a wealthy financier. His West 23rd Street home was a place of fine furniture, not a timber yard. Investigators searched the house from cellar to attic and found no evidence of any carpentry work, recent or otherwise. No one in the household could say where the iron dog had come from. The tool was heavy. Investigators noted it would require real intent and real strength to wield it as a weapon. This raises a question that has never been satisfactorily answered, and I want you to sit with it. Was that tool carried into 12 West 23rd Street by someone who came there that night to do harm? Or had the iron dog been inside that house for some time, overlooked, unremarkable, waiting? Think about what each answer means for the rest of this case, for the timeline, for the motive, for whoever moved through that house in the dark. Because that night, multiple people slept inside 12 West 23rd Street, and none of them, they said, heard a single thing. On the board so far, unknown, the unidentified killer. Now we pin up 28 Jules 1870. Nathan retires inside locked mansion. Chapter 5. The safe that wasn't robbed. On the morning of July 29, 1879, investigators found Benjamin Nathan's study in deliberate disarray. A small portable iron safe sat open on the floor, its contents pulled out and strewn nearby. At first glance, the scene said one word: robbery. But Benjamin Nathan was one of the wealthiest men in New York City, and inside that same house stood a second, far larger safe, heavy, imposing, and filled with bonds and securities worth a small fortune. That larger safe had not been touched, not the dial, not the handle. Nothing about it suggested any intruder had come near. Consider what this means. A person who found one safe in the dark in a sleeping house somehow walked past a second. What do you make of that? A seasoned burglar, skilled enough to locate a hidden portable safe, would not overlook something so obvious. The disarray, investigators began to suspect, may have been arranged, not discovered. If robbery was never truly the motive, then someone wanted it to look that way, and that changes everything about who we are looking for. On the board so far, 28 Jewel 1870, Nathan retires inside locked mansion. Now we pin up 29 Jewel 1870, body found near second floor landing. Chapter 6. The Sons in the Spotlight. The morning of July 29, 1870, both Nathan's sons were questioned within hours of their father's body being found. Frederick Nathan, the elder son, said he had spent the night at a friend's home across the city. Washington Nathan, the younger, claimed he had returned to the house late and gone straight to bed. But the detectives noted something immediately. Washington's account of the time he arrived home shifted between tellings. In one statement, he said midnight. In another, closer to 2 in the morning. 2 hours is a long distance in any murder investigation. Frederick's alibi was checked, and the friend corroborated it, though the press found the corroboration conveniently tidy. Think carefully about what the inconsistency in Washington's timeline actually tells us. Does it suggest guilt or the fractured memory of a son who had just lost his father? Detectives observed that Washington appeared agitated during questioning, while Frederick seemed almost unnervingly composed. Neither son could explain a single iron bar found near the scene, a weapon never conclusively tied to any hand. The whispers in the precinct and the tabloids grew louder, but no charge was ever brought against either son. 2 stories, 2 brothers, and somewhere between them, a question that has never been answered. What was actually inside that safe? On the board so far, 29 Jewel 1870, body found near second floor landing. Now we pin up AUG 1870, sons and staff intensely questioned. Chapter 7. The Man Who Vanished. In the summer of 1870, a figure moved through the edges of the Nathan household, noticed but never truly seen. He was known locally as a drifter, a man with no fixed address and a habit of appearing where money changed hands. Witnesses later recalled him in conversation with members of the Nathan family in the weeks before the murder. What connected him to the family remains, even now, frustratingly unclear. Benjamin Nathan was found dead on the morning of July 29, 1870, on the second floor of his West 23rd Street home. By the time investigators began asking questions about this drifter, he had already left New York. No forwarding address was ever recorded, and no one could say with certainty when he had gone. Consider the timing. The murder occurred, and within days, this man was simply gone. Ask yourself, does that departure feel like coincidence to you? Or does it feel like something else entirely? Detectives followed thin leads northward and westward, but no trail held. The drifter never resurfaced in any court record, any prison ledger, any named account connected to the case. Whether he vanished out of fear, out of guilt, or simply out of habit, that question has never been answered. On the board so far, AUG 1870, sons and staff intensely questioned. Now we pin up 1870 present, case unsolved. No charges ever filed. Chapter 8. The reward nobody claimed. In the weeks after Benjamin Nathan's death, New York City posted a reward of $30,000, an almost incomprehensible sum in 1870. The city had never offered anything like it for a single crime. Hundreds of letters poured into the offices of the New York City Police Department over the following months. Con artists arrived first, presenting invented witnesses and fabricated alibis for a fee. At least 3 separate men came forward, claiming independently to have committed the murder themselves. Each confession collapsed under the simplest questioning. None of the men knew details only the killer would know. Then came the deathbed confessions, whispered in parlors, scrawled in letters left behind by the dying. Investigators tracked each one down across the following decades, and each one dissolved into nothing. The reward stood unclaimed for years, then quietly disappeared. $30,000 no one ever collected. Think carefully about what that silence means. Not who to blame, but what kind of secret requires that much keeping. Fear, loyalty, complicity, or something else entirely. Held every tongue that might have spoken. And yet, one name surfaced repeatedly in those decades of tips, circling the case like something that refused to leave. On the board so far, 1870 present, case unsolved, no charges ever filed. Now we pin up a key clue, heavy iron carpenter's tool, murder wep. Chapter 9. Every theory, every dead end. By the summer of 1879, investigators had built 4 distinct theories around the death of Benjamin Nathan. The first theory, an intruder with intimate knowledge of the house had entered and targeted Nathan deliberately. The second theory, a targeted killing dressed to look like robbery, the safe left untouched by design. The third theory, a sudden, unplanned quarrel that turned fatal. A crime of passion with no premeditation at all. The fourth theory pointed inward, toward someone already sleeping beneath Nathan's own roof that night. Here is what we know. The weapon, a carpenter's dog, was found inside the house, not brought from outside. That single fact quietly dismantles the stranger-intruder theory. No outsider would have known where to find it. Consider that for a moment. Because if the weapon was of the house, so very likely was the killer. But the passion theory collapses too. The sons who slept upstairs heard nothing. No struggle. No raised voice. Every theory offered something. Every theory surrendered something it could not explain. No arrest was ever made. The grand jury heard testimony in August 1879 and returned nothing. The case did not go cold. It simply stopped. Every door shut, and whatever truth existed passed into silence with Benjamin Nathan himself. On the board so far, a key clue, heavy iron carpenter's tool, murder web. Now we pin up a key clue, disturbed safe, valuables missing. Chapter 10. The board is yours now. Everything we know about the night of July 28th, 1879, now belongs to you. Benjamin Nathan was found dead before dawn in his West 23rd Street home. The doors were locked from the inside. The weapon, a heavy iron dog used as a paperweight, was recovered in the very same room. The safe stood open but untouched. Thousands of dollars left inside. Several people slept under that roof that night. Not one of them reported hearing a sound. A mysterious stranger was reported near the house that evening and was never identified. The reward offered for information, $50,000, was never claimed. Now you have the sealed house, the timeline, the weapon, and the people inside. Weigh it all. What does the locked door tell you about who was already inside? Share your theory in the comments, subscribe, and we keep the case open together. Because one thread, a name whispered in a deathbed confession 40 years later, has never been fully explained. On the board so far, a key clue, disturbed safe, valuables missing. Now we pin up a key clue, doors bolted from inside.